Moriarty instantly begins torturing him by putting a massive meat hook through his shoulder and hanging him up by that hook. Yeah, looks agony. Hello there, my name's Lee.
And I'm Ned, and today we watched Sherlock Holmes. Let's get into it.
Let's. So we actually watched Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, the sequel to the 2009 movie Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows came out 2011, 2 years after the original,
Right?
and it lasts for 2 hours 9 minutes. Stars Robert Downey Jr. as Sherlock Holmes, Jude Law as Dr. Watson, and Jared Harris as Professor James Moriarty.
He's a dadian.
The movie opens with Irene Adler, a character and love interest from the first movie. She is walking down the streets of 19th century London, is that right?
Yeah, because it's like 1800 and something. So, and that's the 19th century, because it's gone ahead.
Well, we know you don't have to go into a whole detailed explanation.
I do. You see, in zero...
Right. Irene Adler, played by Rachel McAdams, is walking down the street and it looks like she's been followed by some mean looking dudes.
Yeah, and an old Chinese nan. It's clearly Sherlock Holmes in disguise.
Yeah, it's not the greatest disguise.
No, that he catches up to her and says, listen, these guys are following you. And she says, actually, they're escorting me. Good luck. And she leaves them to it and she says, I'll see you at dinner tonight. We'll have a little date. That I'm going to let you get beaten up by these guys.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. But what actually happens is Sherlock Holmes beats up all these guys.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's filmed in such a nice way.
The action sequences in this film, they use something called the phantom camera.
Oh, is it haunted?
No, I don't think it's haunted. It's just a name for it, and it picks up every little detail, and it's really cool. It makes the action sequences look incredible. So he beats up his would-be attackers, and he follows Irene Adler, and she's going to an auction house to meet up with some doctor, and she's going to pay him, she's going to give him an envelope containing a whole load of money.
Yeah, but guess what? It doesn't contain a whole load of money. It opens up, and it's a dawn. It's going to blow up the whole place.
It is, but Sherlock's arrived just in time to disarm the bomb.
Well, he doesn't disarm it, does he?
No, oh no, that's true.
He takes it, and he takes it in like a, what do you call it, a mummy's tune?
A mummy's oh yeah, an esophagus.
No, that's in your throat, is it? Well, somewhere in your body.
I think you're right. Sarcophagus. Sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus. Sarcothalop.
No, sarcophagus.
Sir who?
No, not sir anyone. Sarcophagus.
Right.
Yeah. And that allows the bomb to explode without causing any damage to any body or anything.
And then Irene Adler has wandered off again. She's actually gone to meet with Moriarty. She's in a busy restaurant and she goes to meet him and she says, I delivered the package, that Sherlock Holmes is there. And Moriarty says, I know.
Yeah, he knows all about it. He knows everything. He's pretty smart and he's got spies everywhere.
Yeah, in fact, he says, oh, I like how you chose to meet in a public place like a restaurant. And then what happens?
Well, then what happens is the restaurant's full and Moriarty takes his knife and tings on his glass, goes ting ting ting, ting ting ting. Yeah, and everyone in the restaurant silently stands up and leaves.
This is how much power and influence this guy has. He's a scary dude.
If you know the Sherlock Holmes lore.
Oh, sorry.
Lore. If you know Sherlock Holmes. No, not lore. Lore, L-O-R-E.
Oh.
If you know the Sherlock Holmes backstory, you'll know that Moriarty is his biggest nemesis.
Oh.
So once the restaurant is cleared out, Irene Adler stands up to leave, and she suddenly doesn't feel so good after drinking her tea.
Moriarty has poisoned her, and she's a goner. she just passes away. Untraceable poison, it looks like tuberculosis. That is poison. Yeah.
And then the opening titles start. Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows.
Oh my goodness, you see this music? It's amazing. Ding 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 ding.
Right, okay. It is really enjoyable music.
Yeah, plinky plonky.
It's very plinky plonky, but it's pretty cool. At this point we join Dr. Watson as he's heading home to his shared apartment in London. It's 22B Baker Street.
Oh, that's my address.
That's not your address. But Sherlock Holmes is in there somewhere. But Watson walks in and the place is like a jungle.
Yeah. Do you know how sometimes your mum says, oh, your bedroom's like a jungle? This is actually like a jungle. It's got trees and plants and animals everywhere. And Sherlock Holmes is hiding.
He fires an arrow into Dr. Watson's back.
Yeah, don't worry, not a sharp one.
No. And we discover Sherlock Holmes has invented this thing called urban camouflage. So he's wearing like a full bodysuit that blends in perfectly with the background.
It's really cool. It's like that music video. Do you remember that?
What one?
Got you.
Got you.
Got you.
You've got me.
No. Got you.
What the song's called? Got You.
No. Got you. Somebody that I used to know.
Alright, yeah, I remember the video.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that.
I suppose it is. Like, don't start singing that now. Now, before we go any further, I should say this movie is directed by Guy Ritchie.
Right, so it's really elaborate.
It is really elaborate. So we're going to keep it as simple as possible. Because sometimes trying to explain a Guy Ritchie movie to someone who's not seen it before is like...
It's like trying to be Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Anyway, we discover that John Watson, Dr. Watson, is about to be married the following day.
Yeah, so they're having a stag do, so they get a taxi, and it's like one of the earliest cars. So they're sitting in the back, and they've got like they have to wear goggles because they're going at like 12 miles an hour. Steed Deanans.
They arrive at this big hall. It's like it's got drinking and gambling and everything.
Looks great.
Yeah. And John Watson is expecting all his old army buddies to be there and his rugby club buddies, but they're not there.
No, because Sherlock forgot to invite them, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Silly Sherlock.
Silly Sherlock.
So Watson accepts that it's just him and Sherlock, and for some reason Sherlock's brother, Mycroft Holmes.
Who? Mycroft?
Mycroft Holmes.
Yourcroft?
No, Mycroft.
Yourcroft?
No. So Mycroft and Watson get down to some drinking and some gambling, and Watson's having a very successful night at the gambling table.
Yeah, he cannot lose.
Meanwhile, Sherlock Holmes goes exploring the place for some reason.
Yeah, he goes and he finds this fortune teller called Nadon Sinsa, or a Sin, or Nadon Sin card, or something like that. Is it Sim or Simsa? I don't know, SIM card. No, it's not a SIM card. I think it is Simsa. Simba. That's a hidden you.
No, not Simba. I think it's Simsa.
Right.
Well, he goes to see this fortune teller, Madame Simsa, and he decides to read her fortune.
Oh, he's so wacky.
Well, he discovers that her brother is in danger. Her brother is actually involved in some nefarious bombing plots.
Uh-oh.
He also points out...
Oh, I know, I remember. He points out that there's an assassin in the room.
Yeah, they're in this little dark room so that she can read fortunes. But up above, there is an assassin hiding in the roof space. And at this point, we finally get a little bit of Holmes-a-vision.
Holmes-a-vision. It's really cool.
You should see it in the first film. The Holmes-a-vision, how can you explain it? It's basically, it shows
everything before it happens, and then it happens.
Yeah, so for example, in the first film, Sherlock Holmes comes up against someone he has to fight, and in his mind, we hear him going through all the steps. So it says, distract, target, break ribs, fractured jaw, and it's showing all this in slow motion inside his mind, and then it speeds up and shows you it all actually happening within about a second and a half.
Oh, I need to see the first one.
You do, but it starts to happen here.
Yeah, and it's like a dirt analogy.
Yeah, because the assassin is hiding up above them. Look at the camera. Sherlock goes through the steps in his head.
Yeah, and he says, Tillard's nest, and he shows you him grabbing the guy from the roof stays. Blunt beak, so he touches him in the nose. Drake eggs, kicks him between the legs. Get it, eggs. Gillies, right. Add seasoning, so a few more hits, and then flit on lit, thrown over, and then breakfast is served.
So he goes through all these steps in his mind, and he's just about to execute his plan, but then he gets as far as the first one. He pulls the assassin down, and then Madame Simsa pulls out a knife and throws it at the guy. The guy falls over.
Yeah, so no big fight. Ooh.
Well, it's okay. Because then Madame Simsa runs off. Sherlock Holmes starts to leave and then realises the assassin was wearing basically a piece of armour, a piece of wood on front of his chest. So the knife just went into that. So he gets up, and Sherlock and the assassin have a big running battle all through the hall.
Yeah, it's quite cool. They're doing flips, and they're doing fights, and they're doing all sorts.
Yeah, they are. And it all ends with Sherlock crashing through the table that Watson is sitting at. And Watson's winnings, all of his money, is thrown into the air. And everyone in the hall has a big brawl to try and steal all the money.
And they do.
They do. And Watson's very drunk and very annoyed.
And Sherlock's very beaten up.
He is, and the assassin has run off. We cut to the next morning. Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes are in the back of another taxi cab, and they are very, very hungover.
They look so rough. Remember you were drunk last week? No, I wasn't. No, he was, and he looked that rough. No. His new wife, Mary, is not impressed. That she marries him anyway. And Sherlock gives him the little wedding present. He says, use this in any emergency, you might need it. And it's like a little, what is it, a needle?
But it's a little adrenaline shot. So if anything happens to Mary or to Dr. John Watson, then they can jab the needle into them and it'll revive them.
That's the plan anyway.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll see it again.
I wonder. After the wedding ceremony, a stranger approaches Sherlock Holmes and invites him to a meeting with Moriarty that very afternoon.
Yeah, so he says, I'll be there. Get the tea on.
He doesn't say that. But he does go along. He meets Professor Moriarty at the college he teaches at, and Moriarty and him have a private meeting, and it's very veiled chat, but in this veiled chat, Moriarty basically reveals that he took care of Irene Adler.
He poisoned her.
Yeah, and he says, I will also take care of Dr. Watson and his new wife unless you walk away and don't look into any of my questionable schemes, Sherlock Holmes. And Sherlock Holmes says,
no, I'm in this and I'm going to take you down, mate.
The newlywed Watson couple board their train and they're going to go on their honeymoon, and they get a little private car in first class.
Yeah, and then this guy appears like a torture and he says, here's some champagne.
And Watson says, John Watson says, we didn't order that. And the porter says,
a compliments of us to congratulate you. And then he tries to stab him.
Yeah, he pulls a knife and tries to kill him.
Yeah, it's not cool. Not cool, torture.
No, but John Watson manages to fight him off, and Mary helps as well.
Yeah, Mary grabs a gun that Watson has and points it at the guy, and forces him to jump from a moving train. So that's him, a goner.
Yeah, well, to be fair, he was going to take them out.
Yeah, true. Happy honeymoon!
Right. After this, Dr. Watson sticks his head out of the door to see if there are any more assailants on their way. He sees a man dressed as a woman.
Sherlock Holmes in one of his disguises.
And Sherlock comes in and says there are about half a dozen more people coming to take you and your wife out.
Yeah.
So Watson is covering the door. Sherlock is inside the little private carriage with Mary, and he throws Mary from the moving train.
Yep. So long. Sayonara. R.I.P.
Well, no, it doesn't seem like that. But he's actually set up so that he throws her just at the right time that she falls from the train into a lake below or a river below, and Mycroft is waiting in a boat, and he picks her up and takes her to safety.
Yeah. It's quite cool. Quite funny.
Yeah. So, Sherlock and John Watson are left to fight off all these corrupt people who have been sent to take them out.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's like a bit of a gunfight that Sherlock Holmes takes his lipstick, because he's dressed as a woman. He takes his lipstick and sticks it in the guy's rifle, and the guy tries to fire the rifle, and it explodes and takes him and his mates out.
Yeah, and then after that, there's some guys with like a Gatling gun, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got grrrr.
Yeah. The guy behind the guy with the Gatling gun also has a big bag of hand grenades. He takes one, he goes to throw it, but Watson gets a shot off, shoots him through the shoulder. The guy drops the grenade. Meanwhile, the guy in the Gatling gun, he is just reloading his weapon.
Yeah, and the guy who dropped the grenade realises what's happened. He doesn't know what grenade it is because it's a big bag of grenades. So he just like accepts death.
He does. He looks at the bag, looks at his friend, and just closes his eyes and waits for the explosion.
Which happens instantly.
Yeah, so they're taken care of. Now Sherlock and John go to Paris.
To Paris! Gaitari! Haha!
Right, okay. And they go to find Madame Simsa.
Madame Sincard.
No, Madame Simsa. And she is living in a camp. I would say a traveller's camp. But in this movie, they say a gypsy camp.
Yeah, so she's in a big band of gypsies.
Watson and Holmes are taken in to talk to her, and she gives them wine, she gives them food.
Yeah, hedgehog goulash. It's delicious, apparently. I can't see how.
Her brother Claude is being held and being forced to make and plant bombs for Professor Moriarty.
Yeah, he's nefarious.
Good word.
Yeah.
They say they're going to help her find her brother and save him because they don't want bombs planted all around Europe.
Yeah, because you see Moriarty is trying to cause disruption and unrest, and he's basically trying to start World War One. Although he doesn't call it that, he just says a world war.
Yeah, he does.
World war is hard to say.
It is. Anything with W is hard to say.
Oh, really?
No, don't say really. Right. Holmes and Watson think they've found out where the first bomb will be planted, and it's at a show.
Don Giovanni.
Yeah, Don Giovanni, an opera. So they run off to try to find the bomb and disarm it. It turns out it was a ploy by Moriarty. The bomb wasn't there at all. It was actually being planted and exploded in a meeting of some foreign diplomats and business owners. One of the business owners involved in the bomb blast is also sniped. He's shot in the head by a sniper, Moran.
Yeah, Moran is the guy who approached Sherlock Holmes at John Watson's wedding. Do you remember?
Yeah. So that's Moran. He's like Moriarty's right-hand man.
Yeah. He's another bad egg.
He is.
Wait, how did they shoot that guy if he was in the explosion anyway?
Well, they say the best way to hide an assassination is to assassinate someone while they're already involved in the explosion. You know, it's that kind of thought process.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't really get it either. Because he's going to be taken out either way.
Yeah. Seems like a waste of the bullet and the waste of effort.
Yeah. I guess they know what they're doing.
Really?
I guess so. So the person that was sniped and blown up, he owns a heavy munitions factory making massive, massive military grade weapons.
Yeah, and Moriarty had invested a lot of money into this company. So now when this guy's out of the way, Moriarty owns the company outright. Sneaky, sneaky.
Sherlock and Watson decide to go to this factory that night under the cover of darkness. And they're rooting around and they're seeing all the different weapons and all the different plans and schemes. But Sherlock's captured by Moran. Yeah, Moran captures him pretty easily. And he is taken off to see Moriarty. Moriarty instantly begins torturing him by putting a massive meat hook through his shoulder and hanging him up by that hook.
Yeah, looks agony.
Yeah, it does.
And then he sings. He's singing like some old song, Moriarty, while questioning and torturing Sherlock.
Yeah. It's not looking good for old Sherlock. Meanwhile, Watson has his own problems. Moran has climbed up a big water tower so he can look at the whole courtyard of this factory. Watson is there, and then Moran starts to snipe.
As he does.
And Watson is having to hide and dodge the bullets and everything.
Yeah, it's not looking good for him either.
It's not. But he turns the tables because Watson takes charge of one of the massive anti-aircraft guns and he points it at the tower Moran is standing on.
And Moran goes, "That's not fair."
Yeah, Watson fires it, Moran manages to duck out the way. But in the explosion, Sherlock manages to escape. And Moriarty is buried under some rubble. But he's fine.
Yeah, he's just buried. And it gives the guys a chance to escape.
This leads to Moran and a small army giving chase. And Sherlock and Watson run off. They meet the gypsies. And it's a big running gunfight. But,
well, really, it's really a running gun runaway.
Yeah, I suppose Sherlock and Watson aren't really using any weapons.
Neither are the travelling people.
No. But they're all running off through the forest, being fired upon by this small army.
And it's so cool and stylistic. And, oh, you just have to see it. See, I think the camera work in this, the cinematography is so amazing.
I didn't know you were that into all this stuff.
Not really. But when it looks this good, it's worth a shout out. So here it is.
Ah! No, a shout out isn't actually a shout, but it does look amazing. Our band of heroes manage to escape onto a train, but by the time they get to the train, all that's left standing is Sherlock, Watson, Madame Simsa, and one of her good friends, this big guy.
Yeah, and they get on the train and they realise Sherlock has stopped breathing. The end.
Yeah, that's not the end of the movie. Sherlock has stopped breathing. Watson tries to revive him, giving mouth to mouth and CPR.
Yeah, CCR.
No, that's Creedence Clearwater. He tries to revive him anyway.
Yeah, that it's not working. The end.
No, that's not the end. It looks hopeless. But then
he remembers his wedding present. That adrenaline shot. He takes it out and stabs it into Sherlock's chest. And Sherlock sits up. And he's revived. And it's all good.
After this, we head to the Swiss Alps.
Yeah, right beside the Reichenbach Falls.
A very famous environment in the Sherlock Holmes novels.
Well, one.
Yeah, one particularly. But this is the World Peacekeeping Summit.
Yeah, so there are delegates and politicians and everything from all over the world. If anything happened there, if the dawn went off there, it would be bad. It would probably lead to World War One. Although they don't call it that because it's the first. They just call it the World War. Or the Great War. Or a big conflict.
Or, right, that's enough, right? Dr. Watson and Madame Simsa managed to identify and stop the would-be bomber, the would-be assassin.
Yeah, Naran takes the guy out before he can stick, and then Naran slinks off, and we never see him again.
Yeah, that's true. He just leaves the movie and slinks off into the night.
Yeah.
While this is happening, Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty meet on a private balcony outside of the building.
Yeah, and they decide to have a game of chess. And this game of chess, they use all sorts of chess terminology, and basically they're talking about how they're going to defeat each other in real life. Moriarty's saying things like, "Oh, I've taken your knight off the table, too bad. I'd already won the game."
And Sherlock reveals that actually he has known Moriarty's plan all along. He has given all the evidence to the police, and the police are currently at Moriarty's home in the UK, taking all of his possessions and all of his money and donating it all to charity.
Yeah, that'll teach you, Moriarty. Gin.
Yeah. They both stand up from the chess table, and Sherlock Holmes gets a light for his pipe from Moriarty.
Yeah, and then they see some Holmes vision again.
Yeah, Holmes is going through Sherlock's gone through the steps in his mind of how to defeat Moriarty in hand-to-hand combat. We get halfway through his thought process, and then we realise Moriarty has the same skill.
Yeah, you see his thoughts, and he's like, "Come now, you think you're the only one who can do this?"
So he's planning his steps ahead as well, and the more they both think about it, the more obvious it is that Sherlock cannot win, because his shoulder injury from the hook going through it is still really bothering him. And Moriarty was a boxing champion, and he's just too smart and too powerful, and Sherlock cannot beat him tonight in a hand-to-hand fight.
Yeah, it's looking bad.
Sherlock Holmes says, "Unless..." And he blows the ash from his pipe into Moriarty's face, quickly puts his arms around Moriarty, locks him in place.
Yeah, tells him I'm close to him, and just as John Watson steps out onto the balcony, Sherlock falls backwards over the edge of the balcony, taking him and Moriarty down the Reichenbach Falls.
So Watson can't believe what he's just witnessed. He closes his eyes, and we see Sherlock and Moriarty falling towards certain death, the ice-cold waters below. And Moriarty is screaming.
Yeah, he's like, because it's silent.
Well, yeah, we don't hear him, but he's screaming, and Sherlock is the epitome of calm serenity, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just got his eyes shut.
Oh, you want me to shut my eyes?
I can't.
Okay. After that, we get some narration from Dr. Watson, and we see he's back in London, back at home with his new wife Mary, and he's writing up his memoirs. I don't know if you know, but Sherlock Holmes, all the stories are told as memoirs of Dr. John Watson.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And Mary says, "Here's a delivery, it's just arrived."
And Watson quickly finishes what he's typing with the words, "The finest man I've ever known. My friend, Sherlock Holmes." The end.
Yeah, then he gets up and looks at his little delivery, it's a little package. He opens it up, and it's a little, like, inhaler thing.
Yeah, we should have said we saw this inhaler thing at the start of the movie. It looks like a little inhaler you puff. And it might just have been enough for someone to breathe underwater for a little bit.
Yeah, under the water of the Reichenbach Falls.
Yeah, maybe. Watson is suspicious and curious, and he stands up and says, "Mary, who delivered this?" And he goes chasing after her. And when that happens, we see something else.
Yeah, Arden camouflage. Got you.
Yeah. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes appears. He was in the room the whole time. He's disguised as a background, and he steps forward, looks at the document John Watson had just typed up, sees the words "the end," and he puts a little question mark
At the end.
Yeah, beside the words the end.
Yeah, at the end of the tater.
Yeah, at the end of the paper it says the end.
Yeah, he puts a question mark next to the end.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah, it would.
And that's the end.
Right, okay, that is the end of the movie.
That was pretty good. I'd like to see more adventures of these guys.
Well, there's another movie, like I said. There's Sherlock Holmes from 2009.
Right, is there a third one?
There's not. I don't know why they didn't make a third one.
Oh well. We'll make it.
No, we won't make it.
Yeah, I'll be Sherlock. You can be some bungling idiot.
Who's the bumbling idiot in Sherlock?
No one, but you can do it.
Well, I'm not. We're gonna go.
Yes. I hope you like this. And listen, if you can like, if you can subscribe, if you can hit the notification bell, I suppose. It's all elementary now, dear friend.
Okay, right. We're gonna go. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.